Countless organizations are in the business of exit planning, helping business owners that are thinking about selling get ready for the sell. I've met and interacted with many professionals in this area and very sharp people. They do a great job. However, I've noticed there's been conspicuously something absent in their effort that, in fact, we didn't ourselves as a firm really believe we needed to emphasize until a little bit into the history of Watermark. I want to talk about that in light of what I call the eye of the storm. The eye of the storm is the most likely the most stressful time for the business owner who's selling their company. Why? Because they're having to deal with three very challenging processes simultaneous, which are interacting with buyer on all the due diligence, simultaneous to working with the lawyers and ourselves on the purchase agreements to sell the company, simultaneous with running their business and kind of hitting a really high mark of financial performance and keeping the deal quiet with their key employees. And that combination is as we observe, a very stressful time for our clients. And so what I want to talk about here again in this video is that there's an area and a way to diffuse that significantly. And that is in the area of due diligence. This is the M&A bridge on the buy side. Both buy side and sell side have preparation, transaction, and integration phases. In the transaction phase, that where buyer has put forth an LOI and they have several months of exclusivity, they're conducting various aspects of due diligence: financial, tax, HR, culture, legal, commercial, operational, reputational, IT, IP, environmental. It's extensive, and for the seller, it's a full load of pulling together the history of the business, all different aspects. So this is where I want to focus and talk about how to diffuse this eye of the storm. Again, this can be over 300 inquiries of due diligence coming at ourselves and the seller. So what the misperception is that a company that's financially performing well in the marketplace and profitable and great team, that there's probably not going to be a lot to discover red flag issues in due diligence. But in fact, it is that very reason that the business has grown and maybe grown rapidly that these red flags actually do show up more commonly than the seller and even their advisors might believe. I want to give you a couple of examples that we actually experienced with clients. The first could have been that falls under financial due diligence. So in this case, a company that we worked with, a manufacturer, had promoted an accounting manager that into the role of the controller. And when we started working with the company, we had a little bit of concern about the controller and this person's competency in the role, but we believed things must be okay because they have their processes that seem to be in ducks in a row. But we got all the way past the indication of interest letter, and we were in management meetings and now looking for letters of intent from various buyers when we discovered that the inventory from the previous year and cost of goods sold had not been properly accounted for. We had to halt the process for 4 to 6 weeks to have a CPA firm come in and correct some pretty significant mistakes that were corrected and rectified. However, to pause an M&A process in the transaction phase, we all know that is not something we want to experience, and it could cause buyers to lose trust in the numbers. Fortunately, we got over that issue, and a great buyer ended up buying the company. But again, this is not something that should have been discovered in the transaction phase. It should have been identified really early on in what I call the preparation phase, and it can be. The second example is a legal example. So several years ago, we were working with a manufacturer who had bought their company 20 years before. They didn't start the company, he bought it, from a seller who had owned it for years, and that seller sold off their business in two parts. One to my client, who was very successful in building up this company with many products using this trademark name, which was their company name. But another buyer bought the other part of that company 20 years before, and that was a private equity fund. Well, we're 3 weeks from close, and we get a call from buyer's counsel that there was a discovery that my client actually had never acquired the trademark name that he'd been running the company off of for 2 decades. He had rights to one product, the trademark name for just one product, but he had a portfolio of products by that time. You can imagine the angst of that situation, 3 weeks from close, a legal issue of that magnitude. Fortunately, we overcame that issue, but again, you're in the eye of the storm, and you have these curveballs that's an understatement, that should be avoided. Now, Watermark has reached the conclusion that these can be avoided, and how we do that is through what we call the M&A preparation report. We at Watermark become the general contractor, and then we subcontract out various elements of buyer's due diligence as if we're the buyer. Financial, tax, commercial, HR, culture, operational, IT. We'll bring in various subcontractors that will all conduct due diligence at a level to identify, are there any red flag issues or priorities that need to be dealt for. We deliver that as one report to the client, so that, back to the M&A bridge, in the M&A bridge phase, we're down here preparing the offering memorandum or the SIM, the buyer book, and yet we've already gone through and simulated this due diligence way back here, so that when we're doing these preparatory steps to go into the market, our client can be handling the controller issue, the trademark issue, and getting those red flags taken care of. It is a game changer, and so we recommend that anyone thinking about selling, talk to us about this very unique and very important step that the exit planning market should be doing, but we think it is really something to be considered, and we offer this uniquely at Watermark. We hope you'll call us about it, and thank you again for watching our videos.